Greetings, everyone. Welcome to CRWS, Decoding of Love, Death, and Robots, Swarm episodes. And getting started, just have to say Urugu, the Delectable Negro, and destruction of destruction of Black civilization. Those are the texts that were running through my brain computer when observing this this refined piece of racist propaganda. But I will mute there and hear what one of the fellow hosts has to share.
I would definitely say greetings first and foremost. I would definitely chime in on the destruction of Black civilization when it talks about the warfare on the genetics of people classified as non-white, known as Black or ancient Africans, who were bred out by the suspected quote unquote invader. And this episode here is almost Yakub almost, but like if you're looking at it on a cellular level and like all the glamour and glitz of the CGI, you're almost looking at it on a cellular level. And that's what's really really ingenious and deceptive about it at the same time for this episode.
Yeah, what caught my eye is the comparison of non-white people classified as Black with these aliens who have just this genetic potential that is unmatched, and this episode, the swarm is this alien race that has in a sense has justice. No one is being mistreated and everyone is getting the help they need, and within their little ecosystem it literally looks like that from my observations. Well, actually they probably don't have justice because they have I don't know, but they're having constructive results whatever they're doing, and this victim of racism has been sent over by racist man and racist woman to disrupt that, from my observation, if I'm understanding the episode correctly. But yeah, the scene in particular I'm referring to that really hit it in the nail for me, that yeah, they are comparing this alien race and how it reproduces rapidly with Black people, is when they we see a Black male, Black female, have sex amongst the alien creatures. Very, very symbolic, very race code war, color coded, I suspect. And yeah, just a lot of the dialogue was fascinating to me. If one is just aware of what has been said about the genetics of non-white people who possess melanin, who possess that Blackness in their skin. The alien, the swarm, she said that like she was only like a what did she say? She said, I'm only like a few hours or weeks, or I'm only a couple of days old or something like that. But I possess the memory of like a million years, yada yada yada. And I'm like, a number of counter racist scholars and even just scholars in general have stated that, hey, melanin, that black stuff in non-white people's skin, that chemical that is heavily involved in all of our involvement of being existing here. Like we need melanin to even exist. Um, all that stuff, that actually is also the gateway to the universal consciousness. Back in the day, the ancient blacks, they were able to use that information, use their blackness, their black skin, to tap into the universal consciousness and do some gnarly stuff. It has been said, and that's what I was reminded of this coded language. And white people know way more about this stuff than I will probably ever. But that's what I got. And white people definitely, of course, created this program we're seeing here. So that was really, really, really interesting. But while this episode is super, super racist and highly, highly refined racist propaganda, not many people are gonna watch this and understand that white people are definitely afraid of genetic annihilation. They spend a lot of time just thinking about it and producing content that, hey, we already have a few numbers as it is, being white, wanting to call ourselves white, and look what we have to deal with. White, non-white people are just producing nonstop, and we can't even, we're dying more than we're producing. Come on. And then that mentality, that thinking pattern produces stuff like this. And I want to decode this swarm. In sci-fi, we always see this concept of the swarm of just a ton of creatures, usually non-white, dark creatures, just coming and consuming the universe, humanity. Humanity often being used by white people as code for white people. So the swarm, super, super common racist trope. There's a video game, very famous video game called StarCraft. And guess what? The bad guy in that video game is also called the Swarm. And guess who is responsible for the creation of the Swarm? A character by the name of the Dark One. So yeah, this is sci-fi. So this is very cliche, and we should really understand what we're watching when we're watching things, and not just being conditioned to keep up the tacky, trashy, and terroristic relationship that we have been accustomed to. It was pleasant to see black male, black female, working together constructively, for what it was. That would be nice to see more of that in 2022 on planet Earth. We need to definitely understand that the problem is not each other. The problem is racist men and racist women. And yeah, this episode, I'm probably like, I don't know right now if this is if this is an actual person or if this is the swarm here. If so, if this is a swarm, then we're seeing some highly, highly refined bestiality. And it's really refined, but we do get to see in cinema and film, we're always seeing, just black people being degraded. And they're often degraded with like bodily fluids. Someone may sneeze on them or spit on them, or something bizarre and comical may happen, that now a black person has a vomit on them, and and there's a laugh track behind it. This is very common. They may get slimed or something. And I saw that when they were eating the bugs vomit, literally. And the writer may think, oh, this is a cool creative idea, but to me it just looks like a couple of black people eating filth. That's what it looked like to me. And me saying that reminds me of something else that was said. They referred to the creatures as parasitic parasitic savages. Parasitic savages. I'm like, that is some interesting terminology. Most applicable, I suspect, to racist men and racist women who are feeding off every single non-white person on planet Earth. Creature, environment, everything is totally being mistreated or not what it should be because we are in a system, this really incorrect system that produces a manner of things. Most of it I would describe as incorrect and harmful. But I've been going on for a bit. I would love to. Well, I would appreciate to hear from Evolutionists for Justice if you're still with us. If not, anyone who has notes, go ahead. Go ahead and share.
Thank you. I have notes on several things. First of all, your analysis was spot on that. I would like to add to that the deceptive use of the non-white male and female embracing amidst the chaos is very deceptive when you go further toward the end. Um, the whole thing to me was kind of like a almost biblical trope of like Adam and Eve, if it was like black people and what would happen if like that power, you can see it when she tapped the creature and then got the green fruit and then like she ate it and then he ate it and then like he saw something before they started like swimming off. Like the whole thing was weird, almost Dante Inferno mixed with the Bible, but with non-white people. And but then it ended up with her being like this tortured soul that is blaming everything on the non-white male for the reason for her being tortured and all of the, just how it is right now. Like it's highly refined, as you said toward the end of your commentary, which was very, very constructive. You didn't waste any time or spend too much time on anything. It's highly refined because it puts the bear of the blame back on the victims, and this is just a great example of that in 3D almost metaverse type world.
Yeah, that reminds me of another racist trope that we're seeing is ever present in these films, these shorts, whatever we're gonna call them. So there's always like whenever uh we always see like a giant problem being caused by black people. Right now we have this swarm, this huge threat to so-called humanity about to attack Earth, and now this black male is forced to be its pawn. So in sci-fi that's very common. A black person is responsible. Terminator. Black person is responsible for Skynet destroying or attempting to destroy humanity. And here, they have millions of years in the future, black male, black female, responsible for unleashing, this threat against humanity. Very common, and that's how you train, condition the minds of people globally. Yeah, that these non-white peoples, especially the ones classified as black, they're a problem. Gotta watch them. They're very dangerous, very, very alien-like creatures. You have to squash them like bugs sometimes because the pests. This is the conditioning that I suspect we are receiving 24/7 in all areas of people activity. To mistreat non-white people like pests. Yeah, and I I didn't see it at first, but when you were mentioning it, the symbology of like the Adam and Eve, very, very another racist trope they love. Taking propaganda from that Bible, coding that in there too, because they know we are highly attached to that information. That's very, very, very interesting.
The visual symbology, if you could go up some when it showed the non-white victim known as a female going through her torture, as she was had multiple lacerations on her, and you look at what she's hooked up to when you zoom out, it's very, it looks almost like a vulva, almost like, that's what I mean by this. Is almost like you're seeing this warfare inside of like this body. You're like these cells, like the black cells fighting, the black female cell and the black male cell fighting inside of this body of racism. But yet they still end up blaming each other and fighting even inside of this whole Dante Inferno, the underworld, this whole, this is highly, highly refined racism, I suspect. And I think my analysis is clear and can be replicated, as in a lot of what they do.
Yeah, that's also very symbolic in itself. I would say, how they have mastered programming us. So they have, now we see globally on planet Earth, non-white males, non-white females in conflict with one another while being mistreated by the system of white supremacy. Very, very this episode is refined, very refined way of just clowning non-white people and mocking our condition. Like, look at y'all, you guys have bigger problems, but still want to focus on each other and remain in conflict with one another and not solve this race problem. Yep. Yeah. This is also like, at the end result is that both of these black people are going to be in a pretty miserable position, I would say, at the end of this flick. And hey, that's where we are 2022. Non-white people, we are not where we should be. And yeah, it's funny because I don't know. Yeah, EJ posted the video of the guy going to the non-white male going over to Harrison, Arkansas, the so-called most racist place in the states, and he went to check into a hotel. It was, and the white host, she said, she jokingly said, "I'm going to torture you, and I'll torture you. Just come back tonight, and I'll torture you some more," or something like that. She's joking about torturing him. And I'm like, oh wow! And then we watched this episode, black people being tortured. And yeah, this is the situation. We are in a system of white supremacy. We're being mistreated. That word mistreatment could easily be swapped for being tortured, abused, terrorized, just obliterated. A lot of things are happening to us that should not be happening. And we, as a collective of victims to this mistreatment, a collective of prisoners of war, because we should see these events, these occurrences that are happening to us, we should see those as acts of war. I would say, Neely Fuller Jr., ProduceJustice.com, if you want to understand the only war that has ever occurred that we should be talking about, is the race war against us. And that involves torture, all 9 areas of people activity, not being able to, sustain yourself correctly. That's definitely torture. Was there anything else from this episode? I really hope I freaking right here, right here. Melanin, this chemical that makes us black, and this chemical that honestly got us in this race problem because I suspect white people, they have the system of white supremacy because they want to remain white, and they do not particularly like people who have color in their skin because they understand what this potential, what the potential of this color means, what the potential that a person has who possesses melanin is quite interesting. And I would say melanin in itself, the 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 chemical known as melanin in itself is a form of intelligence. From what I've been reading, it is a form of intelligence in itself. So they could be nodding that in with the constant mentioning of that. And also we also got to see how the Yurugu operates. Racist man, racist woman. If they're still in charge when we are doing space travel, and from it looks like it, they might be, unless an effective number of non-white people wants to end this problem and prevent that. But if they continue their business of white supremacy and they take it galactic, this is probably some of the ways that they'll go about, practicing racism, finding new ways to mistreat. He used the word exploit. They're attempting to exploit these creatures here, but they're going to find new ways to mistreat whatever species they encounter. The species may not even understand the concept of colors, race, or any of that stuff, but I guarantee after the white supremacists are done with them, they probably will. They probably will. Yeah, yeah, that definitely concludes my notes. Don't don't know. We'll be hearing from Evolution from Justice. So, Yahoo, did you have anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up?
No, that's about it. It's just the usual suspected racist white supremacist propaganda pushed on white people to see our problems as things that are created and inflicted by us on us, mostly propagated through religion um, or mythos, um, and not our own, if anything, that can be called our own, but at least the spoken word through cosmology and older things that were known before the system was perfected, as of, I guess we can say, the last 700 years. But yeah, perfected through CGI technology, and that was just love, sex, and robots. So that's pretty much what it is. That's what they're propagating, and that's how we are seen. Uh, Again, the etymology of the word robot is slave. So that pretty much says what it is.
Well said, Mr. Yahoo. Yeah, this episode also reminds me of Amos and Dr. Amos and Wilson, and how he has wonderfully and I suspect accurately stated the problem we're dealing with. The alien like forces that have invaded planet Earth because of, so that's what we saw here. Fear of an invasion. You know, the what has happened to non-white people is very incorrect, and tragically enough, I am also a victim and don't know what I should know to be able to explain what I should be able to explain to fellow victims about what has happened to us. But I would just encourage folks to please search up Dr. Almost Wilson and let him explain his words much better than I will be able to. But that also reminded me of his words and what he has said about what we're dealing with. That being said, I will read from Nyan Sasim, A Calendar of Revolutionary Daily Thoughts by Mr. Baruti. And we have from May 24th, because today is May 24th, 2022. And this is a quote from Margaret Walker. How long have I been living in hell for heaven? Most severely abused children honestly believe that their parents actually love them. And their desperate attempts to bring out the love in those who should naturally love them. Many even actively seek this abuse in an effort to gain any form of attention from them. Having confused love and hate, most adults abused by their spouses or mates operate in the same way. It is no different for mentalcidal Africans at the hands of Europeans. In all these cases, the contradiction is blatantly evident. Love of parents and compliments is very distinct from hate. You do not abuse people you truly love. And applying the European psychobabble that abuse of significant others is caused by an absence of love of self is irrelevant. That's the same oppressor loving logic that says the enslavers who beat and butchered our ancestors suffered as much as their victims. Only a mental slave would prefer his/her pain over that self-servingly attributed to his/her enslavers. Only a masochist feels for his or her torturer. In our oppressor loving menticide, we are supposed to feel sympathy for the judge who sentenced one of our sisters to prison because she/he is having personal problems. I doubt if the sister held captive with care. We are supposed to pity rednecks who lynch our brothers from trees, the backs of pickup trucks, and in prison cells because of their level of intelligence keep them from getting whatever jobs we have. Our concern should be for the victim, not the victimizer. It should be with us, not them. Affirm, I will generously give love to my family. Tragically, I do not think non-white people have families. But I am going to play our outro and then we will be out of here. I'm gonna go.
You are alive.
Oops.
You are alive.
No. I exist.